quite clear. So just a few comments from a German perspective but I'm perfectly aware that our system is not perfect, and that the changes that the political parties are undergoing currently in nearly everywhere in Europe affect Germany as well as other countries, and the allegiance is fading. Europe seems to be getting a little closer to Iraq insofar as political allegiance is not what counts, and of course we can't make parties more programmatic and ideological when they're not. So this is just a mirror of society. But that's not the thing I want to talk about, because I'm here as a constitutional lawyer, and I think the question should be how to use constitutional law as a tool, as a means to strengthen and to strengthen the party system and to make it more efficient. And so I learned a lot about what the parties are like in Iraq. And the question is what the parties should be like, what we want the parties to be like in Iraq. And so in my opinion, one shouldn't underestimate the importance of programmatic statements in the Constitution. In Germany, we have the famous Article 21, which is, well, one of the most efficient articles in the German Constitution, which says what parties are good for. They contribute to the formation of the political will. And I just look it up. There's an even better version in the Spanish Constitution, Article 6, which elaborates this a little bit further. But essentially, it's the same. So it's programmatic. But it's not just programmatic. The Federal Constitutional Court took this as an instrument to foment a jurisprudence on political parties that has really left an imprint in the German political system. That was easy because the parties were were among the few actors that had been unscarred and untainted by National Socialism. There were no parties but one. So the parties were not there, so they were not spoiled. And so this went up to an apotheosis of the political party. So they're a little bit cautious, more cautious now. But there was a whole system of jurisprudence based on this provision. And I think when we have a programmatic statement on political parties, I think that can help shaping a system of political parties. And this includes, of course, questions such as membership. Who can be a member of a political party? How can the party be financed? Supported possibly by the state, which I understand is a little bit problematic in Iraq, where there are even family parties where political allegiance has different is structured differently. Internal democracy, accountability in various regards, and finally the prohibition of political parties. So parties that are hazardous to society or democracy as we understand it may be prohibited, or shall they be prohibited, or just is the political system strong enough? And maybe just one last brief remark on ethnic parties. I think they can contribute, at least this is our European experience, they can contribute to political stability and to overcoming tensions. We had this, for example, in South Tyrol, the German-speaking part of Italy, I think, where the fact that there is a mostly German-speaking party ruling this part of Italy has contributed to political stability there. But of course, we also have the Catalonian example where this is not guaranteed, at least. So it may be an advantage, but it may also be a disadvantage, depending on the political situation. Every election is held according to a different, is held in a different manner. I think that is something that will not bring about stability. So it's not, to put it in a nutshell, it's not about the whether and to what extent this is really rooted in the very constitution. It's the consensus, the political consensus on the political system that really matters. And there was only one time in history, I think that was sometime in the 1960s, when the consensus was about to be abandoned and this is interesting because it was what we call in Germany a big coalition of the thence a big coalition of the Social Democrats and the Christian Democrats, who had more than 90% of the votes, and there was a tendency to move on to a first past the post system, and finally the Social Democrats gave up the consensus. So the plan was eventually abandoned. But this means that there is a strong. This is the electoral system. There's a strong commitment to the electoral system, and without that, and I think the strong commitment is much more important than any constitutional anything in the constitution on any fixation of the constitution in the electoral system. So maybe that's my first comment, and I will maybe say something later on.
I wanted to hear from you about the chancellor after the election in Germany. I mean
yes, the chance. Okay. Sorry. I think sorry. That was maybe a misunderstanding because I thought I was supposed to comment on that.
We could move to this point.
Yeah. So the chancellor, I think. So Germany, the basic law and the position of the chancellor within the German federal constitutional system is, I think it's based on lessons drawn from the Weimar Constitution. The Weimar Constitution had a very weak government, and that was one of the flaws of the Weimar Constitution, is that the government was squeezed between the parliament and the president. So both parliament and the president. So there was no clear responsibility, political responsibility, of the parliament. So it was responsive to both sides, and the parliament could ask the chancellor to withdraw without replacing it. So, and this, I think that was one of the most important lessons drawn from Weimar, that the chancellor could be elected, could be asked to resign by Parliament only upon a motion of no confidence combined with the election of a new Chancellor. So it is very difficult to remove the Chancellor. That's the first thing. And once it is much easier to install a Chancellor. So once the election has taken place and there's no clear majority, and this might be a situation you may face in Iraq too, when there is no clear majority, the president, otherwise politically rather weak in Germany, the president has a discretionary can decide discretionally on whether to dissolve the parliament and move to a new election, or install the chancellor. So the chancellor has no majority after the election, but removing the chancellor is very difficult, because you need the majority in parliament and you need a positive vote for a new chancellor. So in a nutshell, that's the stability orientation of the constitution. That's very important. Even if you don't have a clear majority in parliament, you may have a strong government.